Hey YouTube, Turtleags here, bringing you another AFK Journey video. About 20 minutes ago, someone on my Discord asked me, and actually I can go ahead and show you guys. Yeah, let's see. He asked me, hey, can you do this for the Dream Realm and AFK stages to give people an easy overview for heroes to focus on? Also would be interesting to watch you rank them. And it just occurred to me actually that I have not done a tier list video for this game, and it's already been out over 2 months. And for the previous game that I played, Reverse 1999, I was all about tier lists, so I'm surprised I haven't done one yet. So I figured, why don't we take this opportunity for me to do a tier list for the AFKJ units. Now I do want to preface this by saying that I want this tier list to be as practical as possible. I want you guys to be able to look at this tier list and be like, hey, I know exactly who I need to put on my wish list. For this reason, I'm going to have very specific roles for each one of these tiers. Basically what I have in mind is that S+ is going to be reserved. There will be 6 slots in it. 5 slots for the epic wish list and 1 slot for the Stargaze summons. Okay, and then for the S, that's going to be the top priority for the S rank, the A rank slots in the standard wish list. They're going to be shared between S and A. And then B tier will be basically the tier in which after you've finished getting Mythic Plus or Supreme Plus for a unit on your standard banner, you can go ahead and switch over to them. And then C is like, if you have already most of the meta defining tiers, you know, Supreme Plus, then go ahead and work on these next. And then finally we have D, where you probably won't really need to work on these units unless you're a whale. And then E is just like, even if you were a whale, that might not even be a priority. So now that we've kind of identified a role for each of these tiers, let's go ahead and do this. So for Odie, I would say he would definitely be top choice in the standard wish list. So, and he's going to take the A rank Mauler slot there. Antandra, she will be a good A rank Mauler unit to replace Odie once you have Odie to Mythic Plus or Supreme Plus. And then for Arden, I would definitely say he deserves a top spot in the A rank Wilder faction. And by the way, the reason why these units are where they are is because Odie, he is a Dream Realm destroyer, especially in the new season Song of Strife. Additionally, he is a high-powered DPS for AFK stage pushing. The thing about the Mauler faction is that it has a perfect combination of beefy tanks as well as, you know, hard-hitting, well, just like there's so many defensive units, so having a very powerful Mauler DPS kind of rounds out the team, and that unit is Odie. And Antandra is an excellent sub-tank to basically back up Brutus, who I will show later, one of the best Mauler tank, if not the best Mauler tank in the game. Antandra, what's really nice about her is that she is able to shield other units. She is, I think, one of the most defensive tanks, a perfect tank for if you really want to make sure that your other units are not exposed to getting KO'd by the enemy, because Antandra will go to the weakest allied and shield that ally. So it's really nice. And the reason why Odie is so OP is because he has high damage output, he poisons, he can delete enemies off the map, you know, and the only other unit who can even come close to doing that is, you know, someone like, what's her name? Oh my god, the Celestial. The one that everyone uses. Sorry, the name escapes me. Maybe chat can help me. The one with the band hammer who baseball bats enemies away. Yeah, so Odie, incredible unit. Yeah, Scarlita, thank you. Can't believe I blanked out there. Yeah, Big Scar, exactly. We'll talk about her soon. And then Arden, he is the best, one of the best crowd control mages, if not the best crowd control mage in the game, because when you have a Mythic Plus, he is able to entangle vines all 5 enemies, making them unable to move or act for I think like 2.5 seconds, and you can extend that duration depending on your EX weapon investment. Very good unit, and also very hard hitting as well. When you get him to Supreme Plus, his damage goes through the roof. It's insane. Atalanta, I'm going to put her as like a possible replacement once you've got the meta defining teams. The thing about Atalanta, I know some people put her lower, but the thing is that her kit is very CC oriented, crowd control oriented, which I quite like. When it comes to the light bearer class, there's not many units that can crowd control very well. Like you have good tanks like Cecia and Lucius. I mean, Cecia has a little bit of crowd control, but you have units like Marilee and Vala who are more like offensive oriented. So I was late to class, Mister. Can you start from the start? Okay, Mina. So basically, just real quick, the S plus is reserved for the 5 units in the epic recruitment plus the 1 slot in the Stargaze station. S is going to be the units that you will prioritize first in the standard wish list. How are you first? I'm doing great, Mina. Thank you. I was on the phone with my mom for about an hour and a half. We were just catching up. It's always nice to talk to my mom. I'm very close with her. So I was just checking in on her, how she was doing, and then she was telling me about work. We were talking about family. We were talking about my grandmother back in Taiwan, my grandparents. It was very good. We talked about everything. We talked about me. Yeah, God take care of her. Thank you, Mina. Thank you. Yeah, and then we were talking about how, because my dad passed away a year and 7 days ago from now. So I was telling my mom about the dream I had of my dad 2 nights ago, and I've been having a midlife crisis every day. But so we kind of talked about that too, and my mom's figuring things out too. So yeah, thank you, Mina. Thank you. And then the A rank is basically units to consider on the standard wish list. B tier is like if you have a character in the standard wish list who is like Mythic Plus, you may consider swapping for various reasons. C is like probably not necessary to build, but they're kind of nice to have. Wait, why is Odie S and not S plus? Because S plus, I'm reserving these 5 slots for epic recruitment, right? Because you only get to pick 5. I'm trying to make each tier as practical as possible. Like you look at this tier and like, okay, I know how to construct my wish lists. That's kind of the idea. All right, so just kind of summarizing real quick: Odie, Dream Realm Destroyer, AFK stage pushing DPS. Do it for free to play too. Okay, yeah, I'll highlight that as well. Antandra, very good sub-tank on the Mauler team, who can protect allies quite well and shield them. Arden, who is an incredible Wilder crowd control mage, who does heavy damage. Next we have Berial. I'm going to put him here. I'm going to put him here. So after you get Reinier, Mythic Plus, then you're going to get Scarlita, at least Mythic Plus, probably Supreme Plus, and then in the distant future, if you have, I don't know, you have Insane Luck or you're Wailing, then you can consider Berial. Berial has found a very nice home in Supreme Arena now that Florbell has, been shown and demonstrated to have incredible synergy with Berial. Berial, he's really nice because essentially the way he synergizes with Florbell is that Berial creates shadows that appear right next to the enemy and does normal attack damage, and those shadows are considered summons, which are granted a shield when you pair Berial with a Supreme Plus Florbell. Yeah, so Berial is capable of dealing very good DPS, and he is able to revive as well. When he gets Paragon, he gets Insane, but even as a standalone Supreme Plus with a Supreme Plus Florbell, he is quite amazing, meta defining. Then you have Brutus. I would say he is worthy of being in epic recruitment, and the reason I say that is because when you are punching way above your weight class in AFK stages, Brutus can make it to where you have a chance to beat the stage because he is able to sustain a fatal blow, and he has 5 seconds of invincibility, during which time your Antandra can shield him, your healers can heal him, so he has a check-in, basically like a second chance. And Brutus, once you get him Mythic Plus and higher, he also has some self-sustain as well as some decent DPS. And then Bryon, I'm going to put him next to Atalanta. Bryon has seen new life recently because we've found that he actually has some interesting synergy with Cassadee, where his bird also can be blessed by the blessing of tidal strength, which makes it so, like, you know, if you put a team where it's like Cassadee, Floribel, and Bryon, and you don't have a Reinier Mythic Plus, you know, you could technically have like a whole squad of summons with Blessing of Tidal Strength to make Cassadee do insane damage. So, and Bryon, he actually has the ability to block a Fatal Blow, and he actually does a surprising amount of damage. I've actually lost against him in Supreme Arena map number 2. Yeah, a very solid unit who is definitely a sleeper, but I can't really say he's meta-defining. Carolina definitely is going to deserves a spot in the epic recruitment, and the reason is because she is an S rank Graveborn unit who has incredible 6-second crowd control on a single unit while doing strong splash damage and just really powerful AoE damage in total. Overall, she is a crit damaging mage, which means that oftentimes she'll bypass the enemy defenses in order to do massive damage. And she is one of the key pieces in a traditional Eironn team besides Arden. Next, you have Cassadee. I would actually put her definitely in the standard recruitment. And the reason for that is because Cassadee, she is an amazing support DPS when it comes to Dream Realm content. She's not really used in AFK pushing, but she is quite an impactful unit in the Dream Realm. I think once you reach Endless mode, she is best in slot for, you know, pre-Song of Strife, she was best in slot for 3 out of the 4 Dream Realm bosses, but you know, ever since the Song of Strife came out and we were introduced to 2 more Dream Realm bosses, the Lone Wolf and the Alpha Bear, Cassadee has fallen off a little bit in favor of, you know, Mauler oriented teams, because you do need Koko for survivability. Smokey is a very amazing offensive healer, and Odie is the premium DPS, especially with the calculations that were changed, or especially with the changes to the true damage calculations, which impacted, Marilee and Korin's performance. So Cassadee, I do think, you know, very important there. Cecia, okay, she's in an interesting position. I do think that I do acknowledge her impactfulness in the beginning of the AFK journey when you start with a fresh account. She just has so much backloaded potential early on, where once she gathers enough energy to summon her ult, which is where her summon Mr. Carlisle comes up from the ground and crowd controls, you know, several units within a certain large radius, and then does incredible damage. She's like almost a 2-in-1 unit, 2 units in one. And Cecia has the ability to resummon her summon. And so that makes it so, you know, once she gets her summon out, it's very easy to stabilize. But the reason why she is not like S rank or S plus is because eventually what you will find is that when you push high in arena PvP, you end up favoring more the AoE Eironn mage comps, and so Cecia kind of falls off there. And Cecia's ultimate takes a while to cast, which makes her not as ideal of a partner for a Floribel team. And then in terms of Dream Realm pushing, she is very good early on when you don't have many invested units. But once you know, you get your other units online, then Cecia kind of falls off compared to other DPSs. This is Paragon priority or what? So the person who requested I do this, he requested that I focus specifically on Dream Realm and AFK stages. That's literally what he asked for. So, I do have a Paragon priority video that I actually just released a couple minutes ago. maybe like a couple minutes before I started this live stream. Yeah. So I have a separate video on that. Okay, so now moving on to Damian. Damian definitely needs to be in the standard wish list. The reason for this is because Damian, he is pivotal in an Eironn AoE mage comp, because Damian, he is a fantastic crowd control mage who is able to stun, is able to blind, heck, is even able at Mythic Plus to sing the song from a chariot to increase the haste of any party members within a certain radius from the chariot. Damian himself is not in the battlefield. His summon, which is a chariot, kind of looks like a lawnmower, shows up and, has this healing aura around him and, shoots out paper planes to, stun the enemy and whatnot. And when the, kind of like with Cecia and her summon, when the summon dies, Damian is able to resummon the chariot. So essentially you have a recurring unit who doesn't completely die until the battle ends. So for that reason, Damian is very good. Now Dionel, I'm going to put him in the same spot as Berial. The thing about Dionel is that, and I can speak on this now because I do have him Supreme Plus and have done some playtesting with him. He is a unit that creates his own archetype. There is the Dionel Lyca, meta-defining team. The thing about Dionel is that the perfect partners for him are few and far between. Like literally the only two characters that can grant like a buff instantly for him at the start of battle is going to be Lyca and Smokey. And Smokey's, hey Peachy, good to see you. You're on YouTube right now. We're doing a tier list. The thing about Dionel is that, he does need Lyca. He does need anyone who can, protect him like Scarlita. And he also needs another DPS to back him up as he's getting ready to unload his EX weapon attack. Yeah, so definitely Dionel is very restrictive in terms of team building. However, he is a meta-defining team that once you get him to Supreme Plus, EX 15 to 20 minimum, then he gets really good. So unfortunately, even though I have him Supreme Plus and EX weapon level 10, I don't think that he is strong enough to compete with the other established teams like an Eironn team or a Florbell Berial team, or heck, even like a Vala Sylvina team. There are some people who are able to do it, but they have literally like EX 20 Dionels. Yeah, my problem with Dionels, it never wins defense versus people who have Vala and Sylvina. Exactly. Yeah, he's the team's. Hey Turtle, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much, Tussalad. You're on YouTube right now, by the way. Yeah, Dionel, even though his offense is great, but he with the, with some planning, his team can be torn apart. And he's tricky to use on offense. Like he's like a glass cannon. He can do a lot of damage once you get certain criteria met. And he's very restrictive in terms of artifact as well. If he doesn't get the 3 intoxication buffs online to get his EX weapon off, he's like not really impactful. So building a Celestial that can't be used efficiently in a defensive formation feels off. I agree. Yeah, I think once I started playtesting him, I kind of was not excited about him anymore. Like I would much rather run a Vala comp than a Dionel comp, at least defensively. All right, so now Eironn, definitely easy, is going to be S+. And the reason for this is because, you want him on the Epic recruitment because he creates his own meta team. We call it the Eironn team, right? Where he does at Supreme Plus a 55% magic defense shred, while at the same time clustering all the enemies into a ball at the start of battle before anyone moves. And so him, especially at Paragon, is kind of insane because, as I explained in the Paragon video that I released earlier today, you get 6 rivalry stats when you have Paragon, and one of them is energy on hit, where you gain energy when you hit the targets, and then also energy reduction, where the enemies you attack with your Paragon unit, they lose a little bit of energy regeneration. So, I mean, for Eironn to do that at the start of battle before people, like the units, even move is kind of insane. It's also another reason why Arden's insane, like at Paragon, because he's an AoE mage. No, like everybody's going to be affected by those rivalry stats. What level is this priority for late game? This is actually a request from a Discord chatter, and he specifically wanted this tier list to be for AFK pushing and Dream Realm both. So I kind of modified the criteria for this tier list to where it's as practical as possible. There's only 6 slots in the S plus tier, which is 5 for Epic Recruitment, 1 for the Stargaze Station. S is only reserved for the highest value units that you must put into your standard wish list. Yeah, so I'm trying to make this as practical as possible. Oh my god, your son has 467 Stargaze tickets. Yeah, so now for Faye, I'm going to put her here. She is a healer. I mean, her kit, I've read through it before. It's okay. She's not a bad unit. It's just she's overshadowed by all the other units to where, I think she's like one of 3 units who I still need a Supreme Plus. You're so kind making this after a request. Well, thank you, Tesla. Appreciate you. And then Granny, I would put her here. Actually, I'm going to put her here. Granny is not a super high priority unit to put on your standard wish list. You definitely need Eironn on your standard wish list, but there is merit to having Hewynn before Granny, because you don't really need Granny until you enter Trial of the Abyss or Song of Strife. But the thing about Granny is that once you have her heavily invested, she is one of the most resilient crowd-controlled tanks in the game. She and Thorin are the 2 tanks that you wish you had more of. I've heard Faye described as trying to do too much, both buff and heal. Yeah, Peachy, I do agree with you 100%. Yeah, and then for Hewynn, I'm going to put her... She's in an interesting spot. I'm going to put her high on the A tier. The reason's because, Eironn, of course, you're going to put him as one of the 2 S-tier wilders in the standard banner, but as for the second slot, there's merit to going either Hewynn or Granny, because the thing is, Hewynn's not really used unless you want to have a second healer in an Eironn team for your defensive formation in high arena champions league. Otherwise, you're going to prioritize Damian over Hewynn, because the problem with Hewynn is that it takes so long for her to ult. Now, there has been new life breathed into her with the combination of her season skill, which increases the haste and attack percent of the highest damage dealing unit on your team, but also the introduction of one of the season artifacts, the Cascade spell, where the unit that is placed in the backmost of your formation at the start of the battle will gain a significant amount of energy, as well as be cleansed of any debuffs, which further adds to Hewynn's niche role as a CC, a crowd control immune damage reducing healer, who also now has some offensive capability. So Hewynn's stock has gone up. I did finally get her from EX19 at 20. I was kicking myself for a month for EX19ing her until Song of Strife came out, and then I finally EX20'd her. Alright, so now let's talk about Igor. I think Igor is definitely around here. He is seen play in Supreme Arena. I have lost to him before. He is an interesting unit who is incredibly annoying to go against, because he's able to block as many fatal blows as he has tombstones, which could be up to 5 in any given match, depending on, or 4 or 5 in any given match, depending on how many units he kills on your side of the field or on your team. Igor, when it comes to Graveborn S-tier units, there's a lot of stiff competition. You have Thorin, who, you must get him as a tank. Then you have Carolina, who's very high priority for Eironn teams if you don't have Scarlita Supreme Plus, which is going to be almost everyone. Yeah, Igor plus Shakir, epic arena win. Yeah, I have lost to the Shakir Igor combo. It is quite fascinating. The Song of Strife Supreme Arena meta is incredibly refreshing, I should say. You just never know what to expect. It's really cool. Like, literally no one's running the exact same team unless it's a Dionel team. And even Dionel teams are seeing some variation, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so anyways, Igor, he's in the B tier, not because he's bad, but because you need Carolina and Thorin both in the epic wish list, and you need them both in the standard wish list. So, you know, it is what it is. This guy, I don't even... Kafra, okay, I do know his name. He's one of the 3 units I have who is still not Supreme Plus. And the thing is, like, he does have some uses, but he's just overshadowed by everyone else. Koko is going to be top. Definitely, she is one of the 2 A rank maulers besides Odie, who definitely needs to be in your standard wish list. It's not even a competition. Her ult, 45% damage reduction, is just so valuable, especially when it comes to pushing way above your weight class in both AFK stages and Dream Realm. Got any mentions about which heroes are weak until Mythic Plus? I can kind of comment on that too. For the most part, you know, all of these units, regardless of who they are, will become a whole nother monster when you have the Mythic Plus. But there are certain units that are just, actually almost all of these that I've mentioned so far, without their Mythic Plus ability, they're a shadow of themselves, really. And then Korin. Korin is definitely one of the 2 Lightbearer A ranks who you need in the standard wish list. The reason for that is because he's a mobile unit who can shield and also do true damage. And this is very helpful in the Necro Dragon Dream Realm boss, where you know you want a mobile unit who can do good damage, who has defensive capabilities, and who can jump out of the landmines that the Necro Dragon plants, as well as the puddles. Kruger, he is definitely... So here's the thing, I'm going to put him here, but the only reason for that is because Odie and Koko exist. Truthfully, all 4 of these units you do need to build at some point, because the thing about Kruger is that until you get Reinier to Mythic Plus, you do need Kruger in order to achieve a high score in Dream Realm. And the reason for that is because Kruger does a 40% physical defense shred on the enemies that he attacks. And so for this reason, you know, if you are looking for a high score, you do need Kruger if you're running physical DPSs like Marilee and Korin. Okay, so, and then you have Lucius. Now, Lucius, I would put him here because, you know, Korin and Marilee are both going to be slot-ins, automatic slot-ins in the standard wish list. However, once one of these 2 is Supreme Plus, then you can swap to Lucius. The thing about Lucius is, like, he, you know, if you were to rank Thorin and Granny like in the stratosphere of amazingness, then Lucius is kind of like a distant third, kind of like alongside Antandra, in the sense like he's just a very good tank that actually protects your allies quite well. Now Antandra is, I think, higher prior, just more valuable in general, just because the Mauler team is stacked. They have all the pieces you need in order to push pretty high up your weight class in AFK stages. However, Lucius, I actually am running him on my Vala team, and a lot of people are running him on the Vala team when they need a 3rd good tank that is not a Mauler and is not Thorin or Granny. Okay, and then Lumont, I'm gonna put him here. I do acknowledge his potential in being the most funny lawnmower out there who is able to crowd control and just lawnmower all the weeds to one side of the map, the weeds being your enemy. However, you know, he's in that spot where you've got Brutus, you've got Shakir. I mean, these 2 S rank units take priority over, you know, Lumont. So he's not bad, it's just the other units are better. Lyca, I am going to put her here, right next to Dionel, because these 2 are 2 peas in a pod, generally speaking. And when you think of Lyca as a meta-defining unit, you're going to pair her with Dionel, because she is one of the 2 only units in the game who is able to buff another ally, or in this case all allies, with a temporary stat buff at the start of battle. The only other unit who's capable of doing this is Smokey. And so Lyca, you know, is... because Damian and Arden exist, and they're both A-rank wilders, so she is probably going to be the 3rd or 4th A-rank wilder who you swap into the standard wish list. Excuse me. And then you got Marilee. So Marilee, she is a true damage dealing mobile DPS who is the only other DPS who rivals her damage is Odie. Now with the damage reduction calculation adjustment and the way true damage works now, Marilee doesn't hit as hard as she used to. However, the chunkier the enemies are in terms of physical and magic defense, the more value true damage dealers such as Korin and Marilee will be. And Marilee is still used in some of the Dream Realm bosses, at least 2 of them in Song of Strife, and will be more valuable once we are able to survive without Koko, and once the enemies are chunky enough to where, on the defensive side, where bypassing defenses actually matters. Now Mirael, I'm going to put her here. The thing about Mirael is like, she hits hard, but the thing is like, that's kind of the main thing she does. And so, you know, that's why she is overshadowed by Marilee, overshadowed by Korin, heck, even overshadowed by Lucius. She is a good unit. She's just not like a meta-defining unit. You probably won't see her in any team besides the Lightbearer Tower. So, actually, maybe I should probably put her down here. And then Niru. So I'm going to put Niru next to Lyca and Dionel because Niru did find a home in Dionel teams, not because Niru fulfills the temporary buff for Dionel, but because given that Dionel is so squishy, sometimes having a unit like Niru to apply a buff, a cheat death buff, so that if Dionel dies, you know, he blocks the fatal damage and survives in like the spirit form. Niru does have a niche role in that regard, but actually, you know what? And another thing, and actually because of that, so Niru and Sylvina are actually candidates for the standard wish list. The A rank Graveborns unfortunately are not that great. Parisa, she has actually climbed in the rankings ever since the introduction of Supreme Arena. The reason for that is because not only does she hit hard, she is also able to bless herself and an additional ally, the nearest ally, making both herself and the nearest ally have increased haste, if memory serves me right. And so that could be very useful in not only a Dionel comp, but just any comp where you want to deal really fast continuous damage, such as, you know, in map 2 of the Supreme Arena right now, where your rage meter goes up fast depending on how quickly you do consecutive damage. Now Reinier, he's going to be the hypogene that you select when you are deciding between the 4 hypogene celestial units for Stargate Station. He is the #1 choice. Anyone who cares about temporal essences and who cares about you know, progression in this game needs to pick up a Mythic Plus Reinier. Mythic Plus is the stopping point for Reinier, but do get his EX weapon to level 10 because what makes Reinier so good in the Dream Realm, as well as now in Supreme Arena as well, is that he is able to make the Dream Realm boss at Mythic Plus to take 25% increased damage. He is able to lower that Dream Realm boss's attack, increase one of your allies' attack, also mitigate 25% of the damage taken on your ally when you have his EX10 weapon. And, you know, in AFK stages, he is able to blink an enemy off the map for 10 seconds and also do a bit of crowd control. Also does some formation switching. That way you can, you know, bring a weaker ally to your side to finish off, such as like an opposing Hewynn or something like that. Yeah, Reinier is very good. Now, Rhys has seen some niche role in Arena, in Supreme Arena, going against Eironn comps. And the reason for that is because he is an incredibly mobile unit who runs all around the place doing whatever he wants, which makes Eironn teams really go Monka. Shakir actually kind of does the similar thing too. Rhys hits pretty hard. He's like a mobile crit crit DPS who attacks from afar. So very fun unit. I have lost to him before on my Eironn team. My District 8 hasn't really caught on to his potential yet, but people from earlier districts are already witnessing his power and more people are respecting him. Now, Rowan, I would put him as... this is so difficult because, okay, here's the thing, guys. When it comes to Lightbearer S ranks, you put the two in the standard wish list depending on what you're trying to achieve. Regardless though, Rowan is a very high priority Lightbearer S rank to put in your standard wish list because Rowan is an energy battery healer who is also able to, at Mythic Plus, grant permanent physical and magic defense buffs to an ally in danger for the duration of the battle. Hi Turtle, why is Brutus up there? The reason Brutus is up here, actually maybe I was capping a little bit. We could actually bring him down a little bit, but a lot of people, I don't know why, they prioritize Shakir over Brutus. And the thing about Brutus is that, you know, a lot of people who I help do, you know how you can send a request for reinforcements from a friend or a guildmate, but also request that someone clear the stage for you? I often see Brutus only legendary, and it just kind of baffles me because Brutus, when you have him Mythic Plus or higher, he is just so impactful for pushing really high, way higher above your weight class than what even makes sense. Because Brutus, he is able to cheat death and stay alive for you know, basically be impermeable to damage for 6 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, which gives your Antandra time to shield him, gives your healer time to heal him, but more importantly, he is distracting the enemies from hitting your back row. Yeah, and then once you get him Mythic Plus, you know, he does, you know, like melee, like AoE damage, and then he's also able to, you know, heal himself a bit as well. So a very good unit. Salazar, you know, some people recognize his potential, but he is very rarely seen on any level, whether it's AFK stage. I've never seen him AFK stage push before on an AFK pushing team, and I've never seen him in a Supreme Arena team, and I've never seen him in a Dream Realm team. So he just kind of doesn't really have a place. Yeah, actually, I should probably put him down here. And then Satrana, she's actually had new life breathed into her. She's actually now appearing in some Dream Realm formations because of her season skill, where she's able to cause the enemy to take increased magic damage. I've only used him in Dura's Trial. Salazar's for Honor Duel. Yeah. So, yeah, you guys are right. Satrana, I think the main reason people run her is as kind of a tech in Dream Realm teams where you need another support to make your Odie hit harder. What Dream Realm team? So I'll need to look back on my recordings, but it would be the Dream Realm teams where you don't have a Mythic Plus Reinier, and you're running Odie as a main DPS, and you're running Koko as, you know, a support, and Smokey as a healer, you know, and you want to maintain a high faction bonus so that your Odie is getting that extra damage and your team's getting that extra HP. Scarlita, I'm going to put her here. So once you're done with Reinier Mythic Plus, you're going to get Scarlita Supreme Plus, and the reason why she is worthy of that is because she does everything you want. She applies shields to your party members. She stuns multiple enemies at a time. She's able to knock back enemies, disrupt them. She's able to yeet enemies off the map. No Dream Realm for Necro today. It's right here. Sorry, I'm filming a video right now, Guru. You're on YouTube right now. Yeah, but that's the Dream Realm team for today. The team that got my high score, in case you're curious. All right, so and then talking about Seth. Okay, so my viewers have a higher opinion of Seth than I do, but I did have a viewer who is a Seth enjoyer showcase how Seth can destroy an Eironn team. So I'm gonna put him over here. The thing about Seth is he kind of does his own thing, like disrupting the enemies and whatnot. So Seth is a very good a very good unit. I just don't like it when he dies. He's kind of like Eironn, where it's like he kind of goes off on his own to create chaos, and you're like monk ass trying to heal him. Yeah, so. And then Shakir, I really like Shakir. Shakir, there has been new life breathed into him because he's definitely found a home in meta-defining Supreme Arena team that takes apart Eironn. He's very niche, or like an acquired taste kind of unit. Agreed, Tokume. Yeah, but Shakir, I think, has been more established. He is an excellent alternative DPS to a lot of Dream Realm lineups, but he is not the best DPS for Dream Realm lineups. He's kind of like a good substitute, kind of in a similar situation that Ulsa is. And Ulsa, I don't have, unfortunately, a picture of her to put in, but if I was to put Ulsa somewhere, I'd probably put Ulsa right next to Shakir on, you know, as an alternative for the S rank Mauler faction once you have Brutus built. Yeah, and then Sylvina, she has definitely increased in value a lot. She's definitely going to be on the standard wish list. And the reason for that is because, especially with the rise of Dionel comps in Supreme Arena, Sylvina is able to like surgically target whichever unit you want to defeat outright. Well, maybe not outright, but like within the first couple seconds of the battle. And with a heavily invested EX weapon, Sylvina, the higher her EX weapon, like if you go to like 10 or 15, the chunkier her shields are. Yeah, Sylvina actually applies shields to herself, which allows her to safely attack in the enemy, behind enemy lines, to, you know, surgically extract whatever unit you want to take out from the enemy formation. Once the reset of the day comes, can you show how to attack an Eironn comp? I try to avoid Eironn versus Eironn. Yeah, Nazgul, we can do that. Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Now, Smokey is going to be one of the epic recruitment units, and the reason for this is because Smokey is an offensive healer who sees a lot of play in AFK pushing, and he also sees a lot of play in Dream Realms. And the reason for this is because anyone within his healing aura is able to get an attack buff, and additionally, if the enemy is within his Mythic Plus blue cloud, anyone in the blue cloud will lose 12%, I think it was like 12% of their max HP every second for 10 seconds. And this is huge for against Primal Lords who have like billions upon billions of HP, or Dream Realm bosses who have also a ton of HP. So Smokey becomes kind of like a DPS as well in some cases. So very powerful offensive healer. Got Temesia. Now Temesia, I do think is worthy of this spot too. So this is kind of a tricky situation. I'm actually going to move her down here. However, it's only because, you know, Cassadee is seen in a lot of Dream Realm teams, and Rowan, you need him for AFK stage pushing, especially with Granny. So, and he is also a staple in Supreme Arena teams as well. So you do need these two characters, which is the only reason why I'm putting Temesia down here. But Temesia, being a mobile tank who is an excellent Vala counter, I actually do run her on my Supreme Arena team in the back to protect my Vala when I have a mirror match. So Temesia is quite good. She also has a little bit of physical defense shred. She has a little bit of interruption. She, you know, kind of stomps around the back row, you know, as well. Free Lumont. Yeah, so Temesia is quite good. Thorin is going to be another unit who you must put in your epic recruitment. So, you know, Thorin, I wish there were more Thorins. We need like a Thorin doppelganger or someone, you know, someone who can do Thorin-esque things, which is, you know, he can revive, you know, he can, you know, absorb damage and like reflect it back onto multiple enemies. Like there's something called the Thorin cheese, where it's like Thorin starts charging with his ultimate and you're praying to the dear Lord that your party doesn't wipe, and then he wipes 3 of your party members at once, you know, and GG's. Yeah, so Thorin, very good unit. Plus when you get him Mythic Plus, whoever you have Thorin form a pact with is able to take 50% less damage and have that damage transferred to Thorn. And then, you know, the unit who forms a pact with Thorn, whenever they do damage, Thorn gets like, what, 10-20% of that damage back in the form of HP for himself. Just an incredibly broken tank. And there's no replacement for him against a Necro Dragon. Oh, I'm sorry, not Necro Dragon, against the King Croaker. Okay, we're almost done here, guys. So Vala, she has created her own archetype. She also has a niche role in Dream Realm teams, in Drill Run teams and Primal Lord teams, where if the enemy is below 50% HP, she enters melee stance, where she just goes ham with her damage output. But Vala is very useful in surgically extracting, you know, certain back row units that must be addressed, or who's squishy enough to address quite easily. Waiting for it on YouTube. Thank you, Hortle Wardle. Appreciate you. And then finally, Vala, you know, it's so funny. Like, I'm putting him down here. He's one of the three units who haven't Supreme Plussed yet, but I'm actually stuck on a high AFK stage right now where I 4v1 this guy, the main character, and then he like one-shots my entire team. Yeah, Valen is I don't know why he can't be this broken on our team, but it is what it is. Yeah, he's not a bad unit, but he's not used anywhere, unfortunately. Yeah, just he gets outshined by a lot of units. Viperion, there was a time when I thought he was good. The thing about Viperion is, like, he's one of those units that sacrifices his HP for benefits, and the benefits aren't that great. And the last thing you want when AFK stage pushing is an ally who trades his HP for mediocre damage. Yeah, Odie S+ tier, to be honest. Yeah, you're right, Irma. The way I've laid it out is S+ is for epic recruitment. I want someone who looks at this to be like, okay, epic recruitment, standard recruitment. Once you have these, what to replace in the standard recruitment or epic recruitment, and then, you know, other units to consider once you have all these built. That's kind of how I define these wish lists, or tier lists. I'm sorry. And then Walker. Funny how he's down here because I lost to him yesterday in honor duels. It's quite interesting. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so and then so I'm leaving one flex slot in the epic recruitment because any of these A ranks, there is merit to putting them in epic recruitment besides maybe Sylvina. And the reason being is, like, you know, you can put an A rank in epic recruitment to accelerate the process of getting them. I do advise, though, not to put any A rank in epic recruitment besides Mauler, the Mauler faction, at least until you have progressed far enough into the game where you have a couple units built. Yeah. In terms of candidates for the 5th slot, I highly recommend Brutus or Rowan. I think these two are probably the candidates to consider putting in epic recruitment. Or Odie, actually, even. So that pretty much wraps it up for this video. As for units who are not on here, Florabelle, I would probably put Florabelle over here next to Granny, because you do need Eironn online as one of the units. However, as a flex slot, you know, you'll probably go Hewynn and Granny, and Florabelle as a close third, because Florabelle is being used a lot in AFK pushing now. Yeah, and she's so pretty too. Yeah, I love Florabelle's pastel theme. Elsa in D tier. Yeah, Elsa is probably like in B tier because she does see some play in Supreme Arena Map 2 if you're looking for crowd control or consecutive attacks in order to ramp up that rage meter. But and then Soren is going to be in. Like any of you guys watching my live streams would know that I deranked from rank 10 in arena PvP down to rank 22. I did it in one live stream while playtesting Soren. Yeah, I just cannot get the guy to work. So Soren, I would probably please, like, if you are free to play or low spender, do not destroy your account by pulling on Soren. At least hold on to him, because it looks like he might have some usage with Reinier and Lumont, but I really don't want you to do that. I don't know if that can even defeat one unit on an Eironn team, but we'll see. I put Soren one tier below on also, to be honest. Okay, yeah. So Soren would probably be in the E tier. So I think that pretty much wraps it up, right? I don't think we skipped any units. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have an opinion as to how to reorder this, do share your suggestion in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.